I just don't want hate and evil to win over love and compassion. Those words are from Fragrance Harris Stanfield. She's a customer service lead at Tops Friendly Markets in Buffalo, New York. And she's the definition of the word resilient because she is determined, along with her colleagues, to reopen the grocery store where a hate-fueled mass shooting took place on Saturday. Her quote, "This is our community. This is our only grocery store in the community. I don't want this to be an excuse to take something away from our people," she said. "I feel like I have to come back here. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel when I actually walk inside the building, but I know that I'll be back." These incredibly brave employees are sending a message that they will overcome just days after a gunman opened fire both outside and inside this grocery store, killing 10 people and injuring 3 others. Police say the suspected shooter drove hours over hundreds of miles to carry out this attack in a predominantly black community, and that the 18-year-old posted a document right before the shooting citing the Great Replacement theory, which is frequently pushed by white supremacists. The white male shooter is facing first-degree murder charges, and the Justice Department is investigating the shooting as a hate crime and an act of racially motivated violent extremism. He was in court Thursday morning. We aren't going to mention his name. We aren't going to show his picture. He doesn't deserve that recognition. What we are going to talk about is what happens next and how we stop this from happening again and again and again. President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden visited Buffalo and the memorial outside the grocery store on Tuesday. Here's some of what the president had to say.
White supremacy is a poison. It's a poison running through it really is. Running through our body politic. And it's been allowed to fester and grow right in front of our eyes. No more. I mean, no more. We need to say as clearly and forcefully as we can that the ideology of white supremacy has no place in America. None.
On Wednesday, in response to the mass shooting in Buffalo, the House passed legislation that would combat domestic terrorism with new offices across 3 federal agencies. Congressman Adam Kinzinger was the only Republican to vote for it. And of course, who knows what's going to happen with it when it gets to the Senate. And New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced new measures this week to strengthen the state's red flag gun laws. She's also creating new law enforcement units that will target violent extremism online. Funerals for some of the victims are scheduled to happen in the coming days, while the rest of the Buffalo community grieves and attempts to come to terms with everything that's happened as they try to move forward. Joining me now is Democratic Majority Leader of the New York State Assembly, Crystal Peoples-Stokes. She's been representing Buffalo's East Side as the state assemblywoman since 2003. Thank you so much for joining me today. Listen, you know this community like the back of your hand. In fact, I understand you yourself do your grocery shopping at the scene of this tragedy, Tops Market. Let's start out with what I think is one of the most important questions for you. How are you doing right now?
I'm still taking deep breaths. It took me the first 2 days to pull myself together before I could even talk about it. This is how hurt I was. And yes, I do live in the community where that store is located. In 2003, the year that I went into the state assembly, we cut the ribbon to get that store there, desperately needed in a food desert. And the work that went into doing that was long suffering. And so I was really pleased to hear the store manager's comments about her desire to be able to walk back in there one day. I feel completely confident that it will be reopened after they've completed the investigation, because right now it's a crime scene. And I look forward to walking back in there with her, because I don't think you can allow people to roll into your community, break your heart, hurt your people, kill your people, and then stop you from doing things that you do in your regular life. They're not going to put that kind of fear in this community. This is a very strong, very resilient people, and we'll get through this. It's going to be challenging, but we will get through it.
I think it's important to emphasize, Assemblywoman, the fact that this particular supermarket is, as you mentioned, in a food desert in this particular area. We know that the gunman in this case particularly targeted this location, researched it, came the day before to be able to scope out the top time, the prime time to be able to inflict the most damage. What do you say to your community to be able to tell them that it is okay to go back to the scene of such a tragedy because it is a symbol of a place of community for everyone where you live?
Well, let me just thank the thousands of people from all over the state and all over the country who are pouring in their love, resources, and honestly, food. I mean, people can get good quality food right now on Jefferson Avenue through the many sources that are provided in both cooked and fresh vegetable and fruits. So I want to thank those people. And yes, I do feel like that store should reopen. I believe Tops is committed to that. And is it going to be hard? I mean, I've talked to people who said, no, I don't think I can ever go in there again. But I've talked to people who feel like I do and who feel like the store manager does, is that we've got to go back in there because otherwise the haters have won. They've literally run us out of our community and run us out of the only store that we can shop in around the corner. Now, I can get in my car and go to any number of supermarkets, but there's some people in my community who would literally have to get someone else to take them there to get to a supermarket. So I do look forward to the reopening of this market. I think it's going to take some time, though, because even after it's a crime scene, there's got to be a lot of things that have to be done in there. I'm sure everything has to be thrown out. Everything has to be replenished. And so there's a long route before we get there. But I do hope that we get there because we cannot allow fear to have the direction that take the direction of our lives. We just cannot do that. I won't do it. I mean, I know there's some people who would like for me to hate them now because of what they've done to my people and to my community. But just like the resilience of my people who have made it through these sorts of things forever in this country, we're going to make it through this, and you're not going to make me hate you. Now, be clear, I don't like you, and I don't like what you've done, but I will not stoop to your hate. That just is not going to happen.
So, Assemblywoman, let's talk about moving forward. As I mentioned in the intro, Governor Kathy Hochul announced a plan in response to this attack on your community. That plan includes stiffer gun legislation, an attorney general investigation into the social media platforms where the shooting was live streamed, and the creation of a unit focused on fighting domestic terror. Let's take a quick listen to what the governor had to say.
The truth is, the most serious threat we face as a nation is from within. It's not from the Russians. It's not from people elsewhere. It's white supremacism. It's white nationalism. And it's time we confronted it head on. Hate has not just affected our society and how people think. It's literally been weaponized. Because you can't act on the evil thoughts that have possessed your mind and the hatred that fills your heart if you don't have access to a weapon. That's the intersection of two crises right now that are unfolding in our country.
Assemblywoman, does this kind of strategy actually get to the root of the problem, or do you feel like it's actually just addressing some of the issues after the fact?
Well, I mean, hate and white supremacy it's not new. I mean, it's been around since we've been in this country as African Americans. But I do think that what the governor says makes a lot of sense. If you are able to spew this hate in the underbelly, the dark underbelly of the internet, and recruit people from other places to come into your community and shoot people who live in the same city that you do, I think that's something that needs to be looked at. And I also think that people should not have access to assault weapons. There's no need for a weapon or the high-capacity machine operations that you put in it to make you kill 10 people in 3 minutes. There's no need for that in America unless these people do think we're at war with them because they hate us that much that they think they have to be at war with black people, or at war with brown people, at war with people who choose a different sexual orientation from them, or at war with people who choose a different religion from them. There's something wrong. That's a sickness. They need help. They're crazy. But if the governor's recommendation can stop them from proliferating that, then let's stop them. I believe that this gentleman knew somebody here in Western New York because there are people just like him who live amongst us. that in this underbelly on the internet, that happens here too. So yes, he came to Buffalo to do it, but he came here because he knows that there's people here who are like-minded.
Democratic Majority Leader of the New York State Assembly, Crystal Peoples-Stokes, we are supporting you and we're praying for the community, and we thank you for being here today.